Next question is from Aaron from email. Hello, Adam Makes Beer. A recent follower of your YouTube channel, and I do enjoy listening to your content. I've been wondering, 2-row versus 6-row barley. I don't see many recipes including 6-row and wanted to get your thoughts on adding 6-row to my beers. Do any of your beers use 6-row? Any recommendations or best practices when using 6-row? Just checking BSG pricing, which is one of the big pro side distributors. And 6-row is slightly more expensive by 1 cent. Price makes a difference, of course, but let's start milling. Thanks. Well, Aaron, here's my take on this. So we are talking about barley, and American grown barley, and we're talking 2-row and we're talking 6-row. So we've all seen that barley, kernel or stalk, and it has the little fruit off the top, the kernels, and then the additional little hairs that shoot off of them. So if we are talking 2-row and 6-row, this is really straightforward. If you look straight down at the top of that head of the barley stalk, I might be using some of those words wrong. So ag guys, don't get mad at me. Josh Halpert, don't get mad at me. When you look straight down on it, 2-row will have 2 rows, one on one side, one on the other of barley. Okay. 6-row, when you look at the top, will actually have 6 little heads or 6 little rows around in a circle looking at it from the top, and then they run down. Okay. So there's some just straight away morphological differences, and I think I'm using that word right. It's what I wrote down in my notes. I wrote, well, there's morphological differences. I believe that's like physical differences. So one is that the 2-row kernel is larger compared to the 6-row, and you're fitting more. You're fitting 6-row. You're fitting more kernels into a smaller place, and so those kernels are smaller. All right. And now here's some of the things. We're going to go through some of the high points of both 2-row and 6-row. 2-row tends to have higher extract, meaning it has more carbohydrate, or it is more plump. Okay. It has more starch inside of it. It has less husk compared to carbohydrate. It is less grainy generally in the flavor, and that is because of the husk to carbohydrate ratio. It typically is lower in protein, and it tends to be smoother and have a fuller malt flavor than 6-row. 6-row is interesting because aside from the physical differences, it is higher in enzyme, okay, which makes it a good fit for some adjunct beers where you're going to be using a lot of rice or corn or dextrose, because let's exclude dextrose. Beers where you're going to be using a lot of rice or corn, and you're going to have carbohydrates from those that you want to break down, but they don't bring any enzymes to the table themselves. Okay. They're also higher in protein. And I'm not sure what the link is here, but the research that I was doing was also saying that they are more susceptible to DMS. I'm not certain why. So if somebody in the comments wants to reach out to me and let me know specifically, they implied that it had something to do with the increased volume of protein. So let me know. Let me know if you know anything beyond that. But when you start putting this all together, you start realizing that it has some use in light lager, right? Because light lager uses rice and corn. Rice and corn does not have enzyme, does not really have protein. I can't say specifically. I just don't want to throw that out completely. I think it's much lower in protein. I'm almost certain at the very least. And so it has this really high enzyme to help knock out the rice and corn starches. And it has higher protein to kind of balance out with the large amount of adjunct that you would be using and something like that. So I think that's a fine place for it. I personally still would just rather use 2-row. I have very, very little experience. I know Andy Gallagher from Linwood Brewing shamed me for making a classic American Pils without 6-row. But Andy can deal with it, dude. Andy's got a lot of rules. Okay. Andy's got a lot of rules about beer, and he's just gonna have to live with it. But yeah, those are kind of the big picture takeaways between those two things. There is supposed to be like some flavor preference, smoother on the 2-row side. But if you want to mess around with it, I think especially in a heavily adjuncted lighter beer. If you're not super down with the lagers, that's fine. If you want to try it with like a lawnmower ale type beer, try something there. Get 30% corn and or rice in there. See what it does for you. I think that would be pretty interesting. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you feel as if you got any value out of the video, please like and subscribe. There are also other videos that you can watch. They're going to maybe be over here or over here. Appreciate you watching.